At the Copacabana, the hottest bar north of Havana. Here at the Copacabana, music and passion were always in fashion at the Copa. Singing Barry Manilow. You know it's gonna be an amazing day. Excuse me. Hey, Chrome's here, and Diddley Harbo and Ashy. Yeah, it seemed like time to have a live stream chat about what's going on. It's very the whole thing at the Russian-Ukrainian border is, well, obviously it's kind of terrifying, but it's also very uneven. I always saw Putin as very tactical. I'm beginning to think he might have lost it a little bit. And Jeremy's here in Big Green. CK to go. Zaiku plays and Lude and the Great Yellow Card. Sulfur and Wolverine. Excuse me. Yeah, Yellow Card. I don't know. It's because with the massive troops that Putin has at the border, and we've been being told for a couple weeks now that an invasion is imminent. But now Putin has set up. They've at least set up the groundwork for a meeting between Putin and Biden. There seems to be, to me, some strategic hesitation on Putin's side. No? You guys agree? I'm just not entirely convinced at this point that he has decided 100% he's going through with an invasion. I don't think. Chrome says, so apparently the cops in Canada trampled over an elderly protester with a horse and she's died of her wounds. They're denying they did it. There's video proof. Yeah, I saw the videos. I can't imagine they're denying anything. It's all right there. Oh, hey, I mean, you got an authoritarian in charge over there, and what he says goes, and if somebody's got to get stomped to death doing it, I'm sure he's okay with it. Pepe did nothing wrong, says, I wish Vladimir would give me some of his money. I could help out my best friend and myself. Huh. Vladimir's got plenty of money. Well, being a borderline dictator in a nation will generally enrich you quite well. Zaiku said Russia invaded Ukraine and now its next targets are Romania and Bulgaria. Well, you have to. That's the concern here is where does this end? Because it does seem like Putin has definitely decided that he wants a return to the old USSR. And if you look at his background, that's certainly not something difficult to believe would be in his sights. Yeah, Diddley Harpo says that old woman was coming right at us. Yeah, that'll be their excuse. the old Jimbo excuse. Yeah. Tsunami says Putin just recognized the parts of Ukraine he stole. War is fucking coming. I'm afraid you're right, Tsunami. The only thing that gave me pause, as I said, is the way this is unfolding. It almost seems like Putin is not entirely committed. Now, the other side of that could be that this is all part of the strategy, and he's just not ready to make his move yet. The idea that our intelligence agencies came up with and said that he will be planning some false flag operations to make it look like he's justified, that wouldn't surprise me at all. But, okay, I understand he doesn't want Ukraine to be a NATO ally. Other side of that is, what right does he have to say what Ukraine does? Other than, unless this is the plan, is to just go in and obliterate them and say, okay, now you're Russian property. How does he come out worse by allowing Ukraine to do what is his rationale that once they were a NATO ally, the response will be different because contractually NATO will have to do something. I don't think the world is just going to sit by and watch him go in and take the Ukraine, are they? Let's see. Let's be real. Scandalous Scar says, I live in Denmark, the most obvious target for Russia, as this will grant easy access to the North Sea. Putin can't afford to feed his own people. How is he going to afford war? That's a good point too, Scar. And he's got to know that if he invades, at the very least, really stringent sanctions are coming his way. Now, again, he's never appeared to be stupid. So if he knows that that's coming, is that just what he's going to use as justification to continue aggression then? I don't know. Chrome says both sides just want to test out their new toys. They probably won't start World War III, but just a few local Middle Eastern style skirmishes. I can't say too much. And again, I'm not trying to paint America or their allies as pure and good and never doing anything to be criticized for. I just don't think in this instance that anybody is looking for conflict except Putin right now. Like you say, he may want to try out some of his new toys. I think anybody else that's going to be trying them out is going to do so against their better judgment. And Chrome says, oh, we're talking about the Canadian videos? They're claiming the videos are doctored, even though, those videos aren't doctored. It's just ridiculous. Excuse me. Zaiku says, Biden is planning on a stop to Russia. His soldiers are training hard, and so do I think the other countries train their soldiers? The problem is, obviously, in a situation like this, there will be boots on the ground. But if it escalates at any level at all, that's going to be secondary, the boots on the ground, to just exactly what type of weaponry each side is willing to utilize. Lick says, I don't think he actually wants to. Russia and Ukraine have both said that war is unlikely. I'm pretty sure Biden is just trying to escalate things so he can swoop in and save the day. Yeah, and what Lick says is true in the respect I have been heartened a bit by the Ukraine has been saying all along, just as Lick's outlined, that they don't think war is necessarily imminent. Although, oh gosh, what's the chancellor's name over there? Zelensky? Am I saying that right? Although recently, it's the more recent things I've heard from him seem to me like he's a little shaken in that belief. Alucard says, if this does start a big war, then let's hope Biden doesn't forget we're at war in a Tuesday after having his nephew play with his slick hairs. Yeah, if there is a major conflict, I just hope that Biden actually has very little influence over our response and that it is left to the powers that be within the Pentagon and the military leaders, because I still firmly believe that entire clusterfuck of a withdrawal in Afghanistan is because Biden wanted to pound his chest and be a tough guy. I don't believe any military leader advised him to just yank all the troops out of there and let the pieces fall where they may. I think that was Biden saying in the way he, even when he was questioned about it, the way he approached it, he just kind of blew off the 13 military members that were killed. He's just like, nope, that occupation has been going on for several presidents. It was going to stop with me. Everybody loved me. I'm the one who stood up. Well, you fucked it up. Not leaving. If you can make a case for we shouldn't be in Afghanistan, but you completely fucked up the withdrawal. Sean says, I just hope there isn't a draft because they made the age 21 to purchase tobacco the day I turned 18. Oh, Sean, I don't think so. Our military is well staffed, and again, I don't think it's going to be so much boots on the ground. Excuse me, guys. It's Spice Kid. Let's see. Hey, dude, what's up?
Just wanted to ask you something quick. I found these and I thought Mom might like them. They're 3D puzzles of Disney characters.
She has one.
Oh, which one? Because she had Mickey, Minnie, Cinderella, her castle.
Well, I don't know if you remember. Here, hold on. I'm going to turn to the camera real quick. Say hi to the gang because everybody here's on the stream. I'm trying to remember which one it was. But do you remember, Brex? Pat had to finish it. We couldn't get it.
That's the thing. I don't remember if it was Mickey or Minnie.
I don't either. I think it was Mickey.
I can get her like
I'm pretty
Tinkerbell though.
What'd you say? Some of the others were. Your sister's really big into Tinkerbell.
Yeah,
Hi, Brett.
They got Tinkerbell. They got Aurora, Cheshire Cat. Then they have a big one that's her carriage.
Well, we couldn't even finish the little one, so I don't think a big one would be a good idea.
Yeah.
I think actually, they're all Disney characters, so she'll like any of them. I would try. What do you think? Maybe Aurora or Tink. She likes Tink too.
Yeah, I was thinking. She also has Belle from Beauty and the Beast. Does she like her more?
Oh, she likes Belle. Yeah, she does. She does like Belle.
I'll try that one then.
Yeah, she'll enjoy that. She'll have fun with it, and we'll get frustrated, and Pat will have to come fix it for us again.
All right, sounds good.
All right, dude. You guys just stop doing a little shopping.
We're just out shopping for stuff. I picked Chloe up a birthday present and
oh, good.
Just did some like shopping for my room and stuff too.
Oh, cool. I'm going out later. I got to pick up a few things here.
Yeah. But alrighty, I'll pick that up for Mom then.
Okay, dude. And if you need anything else, let me know.
Alrighty, sounds good. Have fun with your game.
Okay. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.
Oh, right as we lost him, we had said goodbye. Okay, sorry, guys. DeJohn Powers says, screw you all who say it's the end of time. I from Moscow and damn, we hate this war. I see people from Donbass every day. People with nothing more. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. I don't know who you're screw youing to, Dijon, though. Nobody here has said anything about it's the end of time. We're discussing the possibility of war. Yeah. Shadustris says, if anything, World War III is going to be way more media and social based than any other war. That is for certain. A big hunk of it will be fought in the hallways of social media. Tsunami says, war is going to be hard to avoid when Putin is recognizing the independence of parts of Ukraine he annexed. We as Americans need to stop blowing this off as nothing. I don't think anybody's blowing it off as nothing, Tsunami. I think it's one of those cases where, I mean, as far as the day-to-day Americans, all of us, there's nothing we can do about it. Where there's no input we can have. It's not like something within our own government where we can try and rally others to make a change or affect something. There's nothing we can do. So I don't think it's that we're ignoring it. I think people are nervous about it. But again, it's got to play out. Vin says, when they invade Ukraine and you just snorted 5 lines of Colombian Bam Bam and you've been waiting to use your night vision goggles so you pray to Valhalla for a glorious death and start blasting. Jeez. Mr. King of Negativity says, we can definitely sanction the shit out of them. True. Oh, I'm sure that will happen. And and again, Putin's not stupid. He's got to know that's at the very minimum, heavy sanctions are coming his way. And I'm trying to figure out what is his long game strategy. Because, okay, even if you go into the Ukraine, even if you take the Ukraine, and the entire West, I mean, the majority of the world is going to cut you off and are going to impose serious sanctions on a nation that's already in significant financial distress, was it worth it? What's the risk reward here? I'm not sure. Gabe says, despite Putin making his mind up on invading Ukraine, Kamala Harris said that sanctions would deter Putin. Well, I think, again, I've never thought of him as dumb, Putin, but this whole thing is just, to me, almost smacks of somebody who started to lose it a little bit. Like, he's believing his own hype and his own press that, he is going to rule the world type thing. That's what it seems like to me. Because I don't really get where he thinks, no matter how this unfolds, I don't know where he thinks he comes out ahead. Shadustra says physical war won't be as necessary because we have a lot better tech to kill people. Correct. Before planes dropped several bombs and hoped they'd hit there, today they have super accurate targeting systems. Right. That's why I say I don't think there's as much a concern about a draft, simply for those reasons. I don't believe a lot of a major conflict, or any conflict, but particularly a major conflict, I don't think it is going to be fought heavily on the ground. I think it will be fought mostly technologically. Johnny says it's getting a little tense in the world, isn't it? Certainly is. I'm part of the group here at Fort Carson that has been put on heightened alert, so I could be going to Europe. Hopefully it's not one of the shit countries. Oh, Johnny. I wish only the best for you, pal. DM says, I think Putin just needs a hug. I wish that's all it would take to correct things. But again, that's what I keep coming back to. What is he honestly... Is Putin acting in this regard, with regards to Ukraine, entirely short-sightedly? Or is there an end? Is there a long goal here? And if so, what is it? Because again, once you step foot in the Ukraine, the sanctions are going to be brutal. And again, you're a nation that's really struggling financially as it is. I don't know. It just doesn't seem like a good tactical move on his part. CC Gaming says, it almost seems like Putin is desperate about something and is just trying to hide her, or maybe he's finally snapped. Yeah, that's what I, that's where kind of I am, and I hope he hasn't snapped, because I don't see anybody in Russia being able to rein him in if indeed he has. Big Green says, Fred guy finally said something we all agree on. Did he? I didn't even see it, Big Green. I didn't even see it. No one says Putin becoming Mr. Satan. Gabe says if Putin does invade Ukraine, a president would need to make an evacuation plan and needs to decide if he will evacuate himself. Yeah, they asked Zelensky something about that the other day, and I'm paraphrasing, but his quote was, I ate breakfast in the Ukraine this morning, and I will be eating dinner in the Ukraine tonight. So he has, at least from what he says, he has no plans of going anywhere. Dejan says, if you ask me, you must understand Russian people and Russian government. It's not one people. Oh, we know. Our government's traders with dollar houses and no country in their hearts. No, I think, Dejan, it's the same thing I've said about China as an American. The rational people in America realize that the citizens of both Russia and China are not largely representative of their leaders. I mean, we're aware of that. You guys are victimized. You Russian citizens are victimized by the government of Russia far more than anybody else in the world is. Dragon says, put all the world leaders in one room with a couple pounds of weed. Problem solved. I wish getting them a good buzz would do it, Dragon. Let everybody fucking chill out. I don't know if we want Biden. Do we want Biden any more relaxed, though? Maybe he could just watch, and he could consider himself already there on a little bit of a high. Harvey, I don't think that's far off. Harvey says maybe he wants to rebuild the USSR and gain more territorial presence. Oh, that's what I'm afraid of. That's such a fear, and that maybe that is the long game. If so, oh boy, we're in for a tough go. We being the world, and it's going to be interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see if there is any type of major conflict, exactly what China's move is. Now we know China aligns himself with Russia, but how deeply? I mean, think about it. That is a camaraderie built of convenience. Does China want to risk alienation? Because China's economy is very, very dependent upon the West. There's so many things that can unfold here in the coming days if he were to cross that line. Stormstar says if he makes a move, still World War III won't happen. That's kind of what I'm thinking too. No one would survive or advance too much, and no one is naive enough to believe we wouldn't all nuke each other. Right, Stormstar, and mutually assured destruction is more prevalent than any time in history now. We all know that Russia, the U.S., China, we all have enough nuclear weapons to obliterate the entire planet several times over, literally. So you would think that cooler heads prevail. What you worry about is any one of the parties involved just having lost it and gone into a who gives a fuck mode. Well, let me put it this way. Dijon says it's hard to listen, but you're right, author. How do I have one question. Seriously, why Russia hackers help Trump? Why it makes no sense. I don't understand the joke. We have a joke with FSB. Why? What we're finding though, you don't hear it a lot, Dijon, because our social media, mainly Twitter, is all a liberal echo chamber, and they hate Trump. Everything that was done by Russian hackers was not just to help Trump. There was plenty that was wanting to be helpful to Trump. But there was some actually that supported Hillary as well. But all that said, all I can figure is it's because we know that Putin hates Hillary Clinton. It's interesting to me then that if the Russian hackers were that concerned or that determined to get Trump into power, why did they not make a move like this during his presidency? And that's just an honest question. It doesn't make sense to me. You got the guy in there you want. Wouldn't that be to precipitate something just like this? And instead they wait till the guy they tried to put in is out. I'm not sure. Millie Joe says, Kramer from Seinfeld. You know what the Ukraine is? It's a sitting duck. Ukraine is weak. It's feeble. I think it's time to put the hurt on the Ukraine. Tsunami says, I think Putin is crazy. Nobody stays in the level of power he has for that long. It's not affect their mental state. Well, that's what, it's funny you say that, Tsunami. That's what I wonder about. I mean, if you've been in this position of absolute power for as long as Putin has now, do you start to have an inevitable God complex? Do you start to think you can do whatever you want? You can pull off whatever you want and you'll be able to get over with it? I don't know. He's almost starting to act like the Kim family up in North Korea. And we all know how technically and emotionally sound they are. Krusty says, Putin can't stand Xi, but he's willing to play ball with the Americans. Unfortunately, the Americans are trying to lump China together with Russia in a twisted Axis V3 thing. Well, I do think, Krusty, there is something to be said for a Russia-China connection in that they have, if not mutual enemies, mutual parties who present issues for them. And I think that's the extent of their alliance. And that's why I say I don't think it's a strong alliance in any way, shape, or form. Certainly, if there is any type of a major event out of all this, China's not just going to come rushing in, China's not going to come rushing in to save brother Russia. They don't know. China will do whatever they feel is in their best interest. So that is actually something that might help to keep things from getting too out of hand. There's been nothing I've seen from China's leadership, from Xi, that would make me believe that they aren't aware that they have too much to lose by getting involved in a major confrontation. Badlands says, well, whatever happens, I think we can all agree it better not delay GTA 6. That I'm in total agreement with. GTA 6 has been delayed enough already. Chrome says, should have admitted Ukraine into NATO years ago. Truth. It would have made this far less likely. The best thing they could do at this moment is flood Ukraine with guns now. A gun behind every blade of grass. Right. And that's the thing. Once Ukraine is a NATO member, then NATO is obligated to stand up, help them defend themselves. But even with them not being an official member of NATO, can the NATO alliance just stand back and go, well, that's Putin. He's just, that rascal. I mean, you got to do something, right? You got to figure the heavy sanctions are coming, but is that all we do? And by we, I mean the NATO countries. Philip says, hey, Curtis, you see the footage of RCMP? We were just talking about that, trampling that woman in protest in Ottawa. Canada looks like more like Soviet Russia every day. I did see that, Philip. We were just talking about that. It's really, it's really unfortunate what's gone on out there. I can't believe there are still people supporting Trudeau and all that. Dijon says, I'm an Orthodox Christian, and I can say Putin really believe that he have a good mission for your country. He, just like Nikolai too, believe that he is fate, be a savior. He's crazy. Dijon, and for those who don't know, Dijon is from Russia. Yeah. It just seems that's what it seems like. It seems like he's lost it. It really does. Chrome says China and Russia aren't really allies. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's a relationship of convenience and nothing else. Putin isn't crazy. I think Biden being out to tea is part of why they're so bullish. That could be. It's entirely possible that Putin has seen this administration in action for over a year now, and he feels that he can bully them. Again, everything is just guesses. But what was brought up earlier is poignant. It doesn't make any sense now that we know that the Russians that went on social media to try and influence the election in 2016 did so heavily in favor of Trump. And then Trump got in office and Russia was basically a non-factor in anything for those 4 years. Their first incursion into the Ukraine was back in 2014. That even predated Trump taking office. So, and then Trump gets out of office, and a year later, there's all this going on. It's a lot of confusing signals. Stormstar says the UK media is fear-mongering with this, though. We're being battered by storms, economy in the toilet, and our leaders were partying while we died. Of course, they need to distract us. Unfortunately, Stormstar, especially in this day and age of social media and information being exchanged so timely and so throughout such vast amounts of space, that yes, a lot of times, I think more and more, politics leans towards distraction when certain political entities anywhere don't like what the prevailing narrative is at a given moment. Mr. King in Negativity says, the way I see it, the only way forward is to oppose Russia holistically. This happened several times already. It's not acceptable to let bigger countries just take territory as they see fit. Truth. Just the thing that we come back to, Mr. King in Negativity, is what exactly is Putin's state that we're dealing with right now? And by state, I mean state of mind. Because this is just, to me, this is just over the top, even for him. Chrome says the Russian interference amounted to only a few thousand people seeing some Facebook posts. I roll my eyes every time I hear about it. It's pretty much disinfo at this point. Well, I'd said that all along, Chrome. No matter what the number is, the fact still remains the Russians didn't change any votes. I mean, they did not physically go in and have any type of influence on our election. All they did was put posts on social media, and people think that is some sort of horrible crime that we've got to be aware. Listen, anybody who takes information from a social media outlet and takes that information and runs with it and bases life decisions on it without even trying to verify it in any way is a lost cause. I mean, that's stupid. It's just monumentally stupid. And that person's vote was not going to be won based on any type of logic or reason anyway. It's unfortunate, but yes, I agree with you. They go on and on, fuck off, Jane, about the Russian influence in the election in 2016. And it's like, yeah, they did the same thing Americans do. They posted, Americans on both sides of the aisle, post all kinds of hyperbolic bullshit to try and convince people to vote the way they want them to vote. Same thing that goes on here all the time, right within our own nation. So if you did it, if you were suckered into it, that's just because, unfortunately, we apparently have a nation of dummies. Philip says the real kicker is that someone leaked a chat room used by RCMP officers when they were laughing, joking about missing all the action, saying the trampoline looked awesome, something to copy. I didn't hear about that. Well, I was going to say, if that's the case, that should be a major problem. But again, who knows? Trudeau could have been right in that meeting with them, having a laugh with them. Mr. Shank says Putin is a dictator and Biden is weak. Putin definitely has moved into dictator category. Yeah, Biden, and again, I take no delight in saying this. I'm just really disturbed by what I see of Biden and the way he handles himself now. It's not the classic Joe Biden of the past 50 years who was just a gaffe machine. This guy's got some sort of serious cognitive issues. I'm just become convinced of it, and it's not comforting to know. Think so, Tyler? I doubt that this is 100% Putin's idea. I think other people that are supporting him are forcing him to take action. I don't know that I agree with that. I think this is pretty clearly, well, this would be a typical Putin activity if he thinks he can get away with it. I think the losing his mind a little bit factor comes into why does he think he can get away with it? It's again, as I said, and I know people keep rotating in here, so I'll say it again. The one thing you know for sure, if you go into the Ukraine, the sanctions are going to be swift and they're going to be heavy from throughout the NATO allies. And you already have an economy in Russia that's in serious distress. So is this, in the whole risk-reward element of things, is this a smart decision at all? I don't know. Gabe says, in my opinion, I think we could see the 2024 election get switched over to 2023. Judging by what people think of Biden, I'm pretty sure that people immediately want someone better in office. No, I don't think we would ever do that because constitutionally, I don't think we could do that, Gabe. I don't think that could be done. Not without an amendment to the Constitution. And what would happen if people if enough people became convinced that Biden was incapable, then you've just got to um, hit him with the 25th Amendment and remove him. Mr. King in Negativity says Putin seems to be living in a different era. That's not how things are done in the 21st century. Russia's actions are only not a consistent existential threat because Russia is poor, or a constant existential threat. Russia needs to be brought into modernity. How do we do that? I don't know. I don't either. Yeah, there's definitely, by the way he's acting, by what's been going on, as we've said, I think there's definitely a longing by Vladimir Putin to go back to the days of the USSR. And seeing as he's an ex-bigwig in the KGB, that's not surprising. Chrome says, by the way, the Canadian government is now saying they're planning on making their emergency powers permanent. Wait a second. Canadians wouldn't stand for that, would they? Because those emergency powers are way, way overreaching. They're basically turning Trudeau into a dictator. Oh, I don't know about that. Wow. Tsunami says, if I was within rifle range of Putin, I'd have to take the shot. I think it's bye-bye time for him. Yeah, that's the thing. I don't know. I don't think any of us do really know enough about the inner workings in Russia to know if there could ever be a successful takedown of him within his own country. You know, if enough people believe that what he was doing was leading them into peril, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't even have a guess if that's possible. Dragon says the only issue with removing Biden would be that the next ones in line are no better. I'll say this, Dragon. I think the biggest job security Joe Biden has is that Kamala Harris's approval ratings are worse than his. As much as Biden's approval ratings have tanked, I mean, just been decimated, she's always below him. So now, because I had often said that I thought when he picked Harris, there was a plan in place, or a thought in place by many higher ups in the Democratic Party, that okay, we'll let this play out, we'll see how it goes, and worst case scenario, we'll remove him. And I think what they would have said was they'll go to him and say, listen, Joe, we don't want to invoke the 25th Amendment, so why don't you just step down and save face? But now, and I don't know why they're surprised by it, because Kamala Harris has never been popular. During the Democratic primary, she was polling at, about 3% when she dropped out? She's not popular within her own party. So I don't know how they're so shocked and surprised that her approval ratings are such shit. Dijon says about poor Russian. Yes, it is. The teachers in our school took a 20,000 rubles a month. I don't know what the exchange rate is like, pal. In Moscow, it's barely to pay bills and pay food for mouth to one human. That's what I mean. And it's interesting to hear from somebody who actually lives in the country we're discussing, because that's what we hear. But you never know, Dijon, when we get information here, what's legit and what isn't. But that's what we're told, is that basically the economy is just in a shambles and people are really, really hurting. Garmin says, can anyone rationalize how Joe picked Kamala Harris to me? No, I've been stunned by that since it happened, Garmin. And not because I lean towards the right currently. That's nothing to do with it. I think it was a bad pick because, first of all, she's not popular even within her own party, and that was blindingly obvious with her polling during the primaries. And if it was to try and attract a certain demographic, it makes no sense, because Biden polls better with Black Americans than does Kamala. She doesn't poll particularly well with women either. I don't know. It made no sense No sense whatsoever. I don't know. All I can figure is, again, that maybe they thought Biden will go out one way or another. Harris will go in and they'll get to say, there we had the first woman president was a Democrat, and that's something they wanted to hang their hat on. I have no idea. Handu says, how close to war are we? Short answer, yes. Excuse me. Chrome says, here's the link to Trudeau's deputy stating it. Others have said it as well. Okay, let me look at that link real quick, guys. Trudeau's deputy, Chrystia Freeland, who is also a director of Klaus Schwab's World Economic Forum, says she plans to make her emergency powers permanent. Oh, really? Wow. Holy crap. And Philip's in here. Philip, what are Canadians saying about that shit? You're going to make your emergency powers permanent? Do Canadians actually go, yeah, let's do that. Justin, you take over, bro. We won't have elections anymore. You just do what needs to be done. I mean, I can't imagine that's the reaction. And Philip says, the thing is, Trudeau hasn't even gotten approval from Parliament, and he's already acting like he has emergency powers. What happens if they're approved and they become permanent? Oh, my God. Why would any nation, any democratic nation, a nation based in democracy, why would that even be a consideration? To have those extremist emergency powers become permanent? That's nuts. That's fucking crazy. Johnny says Putin declaring Donetsk. I always mispronounce that. And Luhansk. That one I don't know how to pronounce. Luhansk as independent states is 100% a pretext for war. Really? That's what everybody seems to be thinking, Johnny. That's what everybody seems to be thinking. What's? I can't figure out, and I mean, I know you guys are as perplexed as I am. How does he figure that this is a potential win for him? I don't know. I don't know. Either he, again, as I said, he's lost it, or there's a long game here that we're not considering, because certainly in the short term, it doesn't seem like it's going to work out for him. Chrome says, I'm seeing people on Twitter and from Canada saying the truckers should be forced against their will to work. Jesus Christ. People are fucking amazing. Of course, well, of course, you know as well as I do, Chrome too. The idiots on Twitter, the echo chambers that exist on Twitter are comprised of some of the most brain dead morons in the world. They're just beyond reproach when it comes to idiocy. Really? Philip says you'd be amazed how little interest the average Canadian has in politics. Also, he owns the media, so the only people who are getting the truth are those already looking for it. Yikes. I mean, I can say that here. I think I can say that here. And you guys, fellow Americans, tell me if I'm correct with this. No matter which party is in power, if somebody talked about taking emergency powers like that, which basically make a president a dictator and able to just designate everything and anything he wants at his whim or her whim, no matter which party were in charge, I think as Americans, if there was conversation about making those powers permanent, I would say a solid 80 to 85%, everybody outside of the extremists in the party that's in power, 80 to 85% of people would say, go fuck yourself. That's not going to happen. Am I wrong, you guys? I think that's one of the few things that the vast majority of Americans could agree on. That's never going to be a good idea, no matter who's in power at the time. Oh, that's what I want to know. Chrome says, and by the way, that 20,000 rubles thing is about $250 a month. Holy fuck. Yikes. Let's see. Midnight Kita. I am wasting my time here. Don't waste your time. I don't. So far, we haven't gained the ability or desire to harness anybody to the live stream. So there's an exit. It's pretty easy to find. You're not wrong. That's what I'm thinking, Dan. I just can't imagine that. Uh, Again, even as divided as we are, and you would have obviously you would have some extremists would go along with it, but I think the vast majority of people would be like, "Nah, that ain't fucking happening." Vin says, I think Biden is too old to be in office. Since he's almost 80, your mind starts to slip and can't make smart decisions. See, that's a slippery slope. And not just because I'm an old guy. I don't like the idea of putting an age limit on something because everybody ages differently. And we see it a lot with my wife working at an assisted living center for seniors. So it wouldn't be fair to someone who comes along later because people, and especially as, as humans, we're living longer and longer. So somebody else comes along, wants to run and they're 78 and they're sharp as a knife. It's not fair to leave them out of the conversation. I would agree with that people over a certain age should understand that they need to undergo regular cognitive testing. I don't think that's out of the realm of reasonable behavior. Dastardly Dildo. Dastardly Dildo. Good name. Now, if Putin moves his military into those parts of the Ukraine, it's not technically an invasion. We're so close to war, it's not funny anymore. Oof. Philip says, my parents, particularly my mother, have always been apathetic about politics. There are a lot of people like that here, too, unfortunately, Philip, yeah. Their philosophy has always been nothing changes no matter who's in power, so their response to this is incredulity. Incredulity. They're incredulous, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I think nowadays more people at least pay attention to the politics in America than at any other time in my life. But there are still a lot of people who just, as you said, just don't want to be bothered by it. Excuse me. Chief Joey says Russia will not attack. You think not? I don't know, Joey. For a while I was thinking this might be very performative, but I got my doubts about that now. Jack Harper says, did the U.S. really have to get involved? Austria and Germany have already bowed out of fighting alongside NATO. Well, I think the U.S. has to get involved in some way, Jack. I don't think necessarily militarily, but I think sanctions have to be brutal and immediate. But no, I don't think they have to get involved. That's a lot of what we're discussing here. What is the appropriate response from America and from the NATO nations in general? Steve says, I feel bad for Russian and Ukrainian kids. Yeah, agreed. Well, as I said, we've got one Russian person in here now. You do feel bad because it just seems like, I can't speak on something that I have no way of knowing for sure, but it just seems like there's got to be an awful lot of people in Russia who aren't supporting any of this. I find it hard to believe that wouldn't be the case. Andrew says, we got involved. Would it be a cyber war, though? I think any war is going to have cyber elements to it, Anbu, no doubt. I believe you can make the case, though, too, that currently a lot of the world is in a constant state of cyber war. CC Gaming says, I really think that the world is about to be in a situation that war could begin at a drop of a hat. Unfortunately, I do think you're right about that. I think, yes, I don't think there's been any point since the Cold War, and that's something I actually lived through. I don't think there's been any point since the Cold War where that was more true, where things are as volatile for the possibility of a major problem breaking out. Philip says, wonder what our response will be when the RCMP kicked down our door and dragged me away over $10. Probably something like, you idiot, why'd you get involved? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was stunning to me, where they're talking about taking punitive actions against people who contributed to that truckers protest. That's frightening. I mean, that's actually horrifying. And again, if we're here in America, I don't give a shit which side's in power. I don't care if it's somebody I voted for or somebody I desperately didn't want in the office. Either way, that's a no-no. It's like, no, you can't, listen. People have the right to contribute to whatever they want, particularly when it comes to a protest of any sort. You know, they didn't contribute to the overthrow of a government or anything like that. And I know that's the case they're trying to make, which is absolutely ludicrous in this situation. We know exactly what the truckers were after. They wanted they wanted the COVID restrictions removed. So to take that the vast giant step further of saying, well, anybody that supported them is also eligible for repercussions is just asinine. Johnny says, if what's happening in Canada happened here, that would get my ass out in the streets protesting. Oh, you and me both, pal. Oh, yes. Oh, yeah. That's way over the line. Way over the line. Excuse me. Let's see. Chief Joey says Russia might just keep its military at border and will weaken the Ukraine economy because it's already weak. And Ukraine leader's corruptness is coming from an Indian perspective. Well, in fairness, though, Joey, Russia's economy is really weak too. So I don't know what his gain would be in doing that, in just trying to weaken them. That's not going to stop them from wanting to join NATO, which is his stated concern. Dijon says, P.S. I believe our people too poor to want a war. They want a simple Russian, clear sky on the head, good big fridge, good strength family, stability of a job, house and house from city. Yeah, I understand that, Dijon. Yeah, I would imagine, and again, this is just strictly from a complete outsider looking at your situation. I would imagine nobody is any more terrified outside of the Ukraine over this than the Russian people, because they're the ones who are going to pay the brunt of it. And I don't even necessarily mean by bombs falling on them. I mean, if Putin takes action against the Ukraine and those inevitable sanctions come down, it's the Russian people who suffer. Putin will be fine. You think he's going to miss a meal? It's the Russian people who will suffer. If what happened, CC Gaming says, if what happened in Canada happened in the U.S., I can honestly say that the U.S. would be looking like when Darth Sidious took over and turned the Republic into the Empire. Yeah, it's right. Well, I've seen some frightening things going on. I've said it before that would get me into the streets that already took place in Canada and the UK with the limiting of speech and this whole horse shit idea of hate speech being illegal. Now, because again, as soon as you coin the phrase hate speech, now you've left that open to who's going to interpret what exactly falls into those categories. And that's a slippery slope that turns things bad in a hurry. I mean, it's very obvious what we have now. You're not allowed to openly call for violence against others. That's as far as it needs to go. Philip says, I was actually applying for security clearance in order to apprentice with an electrician who works at a lot of government facilities. $10, and that probably goes away since I'm technically criminal. Do you think, are they really following up on it that closely, Philip? That's horrific. I mean, that's just beyond the pale. To even think that. I mean, let alone act on it. To even have the thought of, well, this protest has pissed me off now, so I know we'll get everybody that ever donated to them. That's dictator type activities. We will squash any form of non-compliance. So what is Mother Russia motivation? That's what we're trying to figure out, Anbu. That's what we're trying to get to. I mean, and it's not even Mother Russia in general. It's one man in specific, as near as I can see. I don't know. Because again, at least in the short term, I don't see where this works out well for him at all. And more importantly, and more concerning, I certainly don't see where it works out for the Russian people well at all. And that's what's really unfortunate. Mr. King of Negativity says, beyond the government overreach, aren't the trucker demands kind of stupid? The COVID restrictions on truckers are enforced on the U.S. side too. Excuse me. The government changing the restriction would change nothing. Well, there are some differences in the restrictions, but I'm not going to go into the finer details of that. I will say this, Mr. King of Negativity, I agree with you to a certain extent that well, it's hard to say because you don't know who actually spoke for the truckers. Some of what was stated was ridiculous. However, nothing excuses the granting of dictatorial powers to your president. Nothing that happened there did in any way, shape, or form. And certainly nothing excuses going after people who simply monetarily supported a protest. Now, again, you can make the case for if you think the protest was stupid, that's fine. Everybody's entitled to that opinion. And a lot of people do think that their protest was baseless or silly. But it just doesn't excuse the reaction to it. Leatherface says, Curtis, what are your opinions on the future for gas and diesel-powered cars, especially the classic and historic ones such as Bigfoot, Swamp Rat, and the giant walking draglines that help mine coal? Don't know. It's hard to say. A lot of that will depend on, in America, it'll depend on which party's in power. I think that's obvious. The Democrats are really wanting to move towards zero emissions, and they want your cows to stop farting and all that stuff. The Republicans, if they're in power, it's going to be the moves towards cleaner energy are going to be much more pronounced and carefully made. You won't just have this major push towards let's get there no matter what because we're in a crisis. It's just the difference in party beliefs. I do think unless something changes dramatically in the next 9 months, actually going on a little over 8 months, unless there's dramatic changes, I think the Republicans take both houses easily as it stands right now. Lou says, I mean, if you sanction Russia, it's the people who are going to get it worse. Absolutely. So the question is there any point to the sanctions at all? It's like beating a kid half to death to teach a life lesson. No, I know what you're saying, but excuse me, I'm sorry. The thing is, though, Lou, do you do nothing? I mean, you're not dealing with someone who has a lot of care and concern for the lives of others in Putin. So do you let him invade Ukraine and just go, well, not much we can do about that? So your options would be sanctions or fight him militarily. And I'm not I'm not saying either one is better than the other. I'm just saying, what do? Well, you have three options. Do nothing, sanctions, and get involved militarily. So what do? I didn't watch the NBA All-Star Game this year, New Killer. No, I didn't see any of it. Well, thanks, Garmin. Thanks for being in while you could. Oh, yeah. Rigid Rat says North Korea is another country we should probably be worried about. And Putin's starting to act like he's taking hints from Kim. Their government is mad with power, and if they become close enough with China, that'll open up a scary can of worms. I don't think you have to worry too much about China really aligning with them, Rigid Rat. I do think Xi is well aware that Kim is a fucking psycho, and it's to his benefit to have the neighbor in North Korea on good terms with them. Once again, do I think there's any real devotion there outside of self-interest? No, I don't think there's any at all. Chrome says, oh, by the way, did you see the video of the guy who docks the donators to the trucker protest? No. He's an actual psychopath and works for the Canadian government. Oh, that's cool. That's Jesus Christ. What a fucking mess. And doxing the people that don't. Oh, man. Corbin says, Curtis, what if there's a possibility there's a worldwide revolution? A revolt against what, though? I don't know what you mean. A revolution towards what end? Dastardly Dildo says, from what I'm hearing, the Russian populace isn't very happy with Putin right now. That's what I hear, too. You never know for sure if what we're getting is accurate, but I've heard the same thing, especially with what he pulled today. Yeah, I hear the same things, pal, but are we getting good information? I mean, if you believe our Russian comrade here in the stream with us, yeah, that would indicate that they're not too happy with it. And common sense, looking at it even from way over here, common sense would tell you they're likely not too thrilled about it, because any Russians who are really in tune with the situation know that the likely result of Putin invading Ukraine is going to be a much tougher life for them. Chrome says you don't need to see the full thing. If you see even the first 2 seconds, you'll realize how unstable it is. Hold on, guys. I'm going to look at this post. It's about the person who docks the people who donated the trucks. Oh, jeez. Oh, boy.
Nothing scares me. Nothing. Yes, I doxed the truckers. I did it. It was me. I hacked Give Send Go, baby. And I'd do it
again. Oh my God, that kid is in for a major comeuppance someday. Freaking fruit. Oh, what a dipshit. I'll do it again. He's having a seizure or what? Poonray says, didn't the prince call the First Amendment bonkers? Really? I didn't know that. I think there is an agenda for us right here. Bitter that we broke off the empire, that they want it back. There are universities older than the Constitution. Excuse me. Crazy Gamer says, even if he decides to invade Ukraine, his efforts will be quickly diminished. Everyone already agreed there will be serious consequences if it happens. Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, though, pal, is what? I mean, we know, is it sanctions? Sanctions only? Are we talking military? What exactly do we do to put a halt to this? Because if he goes into the Ukraine and takes it without much pushback, I don't think that'll be the end of his aggressions. And he'll fucking do it again. Yeah, Lude, what the... fucking dipshit. I mean, seriously. The people like that, he's just a waste. The fact that he exists is just a waste. Lude says, might be cold to me, but if your options are getting involved militarily and have a massive loss of life, potentially a world war, sanction them and fuck over the people or do nothing, the latter sounds the best. Okay, but now, then what you have to take into consideration, Lude, is, okay, and those are your options. So if you're saying do nothing sounds the best, do you do nothing, again, when emboldened by the fact that he paid no consequences for subjugating a people? Because trust me, there's more out there that Putin wants. Do you just continue to do nothing? That's what makes the whole thing prickly. Oh, Johnny says Putin just said Russia was robbed by the collapse of the USSR. Oh boy, yeah, that's a little telling. Just a little bit telling. Holy shit. Chimerieri says, don't worry, Curtis. We are fine. We saved Britain's ass in World War II, and they will save our ass in World War III. The Simpsons already predicted it. Yeah, Dimmy. I could see again, Dimmy. In the words of Red Foreman, someone needs to donate a foot in his ass. Yeah, that's good. Anytime we can bring Red Foreman and a foot in the ass into the conversation is quality. Oh, excuse me. Lord Clem says, and Putin said he wouldn't hesitate to use nukes in all-out war. Yeah, and the thing is, and he might be telling the truth, but he's got to say that. He almost has to. I mean, he's going this alone, basically. So he's got to try and turn up the heat that he's, and again, it could very well be that he's not crazy. It's that he's intentionally trying to appear to the world that he's crazy. Maybe that's what he wants everybody to believe. Nicholas says Putin worked for the Soviet Union. Yeah, yeah. And so remembers pretty well when Moscow basically owned Ukraine, Belarus, Estonia. He definitely won't stop with Ukraine if he gets. That's what I believe too, Nicholas. That's the problem with saying, best bet is do nothing. It's not going to end there. It's definitely not going to end there. Blaze says, I probably feel like sanctions are the best thing we could do, honestly. I'd rather have that than military powers colliding. Yeah, because what you hope with sanctions, it's not that anybody wants to hurt the innocent people of Russia. You hope that things might get uncomfortable enough for them that they can overthrow him. That's what you hope for. I don't know if that's even a possibility, but that's what you root for. Absolutely terrifying statement by Putin. Yeah, so I mean, he's and I'm not saying he wouldn't do it. Don't get me wrong, but he likes to bluster too. There's nobody that likes feeling like a tough guy more than Vladimir Putin. Lick says he's quite determined to keep up his image of a Disney villain, so the idea of fucking over his people even harder and blowing everyone up probably turns him on. It's sad, Lick's sad, but there might be a good little bit of truth in that. I honestly don't think he gives a flying fuck about the rank and file people of Russia. I don't think that their welfare, I don't think, goes into his decision making on any significant level at all. Putin is speaking right now. Oh, I'll have to check that out. Okay, guys, I got to go. Thank you for the stream. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this stream. We're going to do lots more of these. I might, I've gotten to where I enjoy these topical streams so much. I may even start doing them where I'll have to work on this, but I'll open up the Discord to where you guys, I can let some of you guys come in and voice chat in the streams too. And if things keep going well with them, because again, I enjoy them so much, I might even turn them into podcasts. So this is a lot of fun. Won't be any on the topical streams. There won't be any dispersing of the sticky stuff. Just seems kind of inappropriate when we're talking about the potential of World War III. But there's plenty of streams coming up this week, and there will be plenty of sticky stuff dispersed in those. Thank you guys for this conversation. I really, really appreciate it. It was really good, really fun. And let me know what you guys think in the comments of this video or any place you see me around the channel. If you like that idea of opening it up to where, I'll bring people in here or there to say what they want to say rather than have to type it all out, we'll start doing that in these topical streams. Guys, thanks again for hanging out with me, and thank you for all the good conversation. I'll talk to you all real soon.